With Pokemon Day being a month away from now, and the trailer for new Pokemon Snap being released, I figured it's time I talk about the possibility of Diamond and Pearl remakes, more specifically what it can do to be successful and be better than the original games. Mainly because of not just the amount of hints for Diamond and Pearl remakes in the Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra DLC, but the amount of rumors that are supposedly saying that Diamond and Pearl remakes are going to come out this year, specifically in November, supposedly. Now if these rumors are correct, then here are some things that Game Freak needs to do in order to make these remakes successful, as well as surpass the original in terms of quality and content. Now the first thing Game Freak needs to do in order to make these successful is to keep the immersion factor of the Sinnoh region. Because one of the best things about the Sinnoh region is the immersion factor. You actually feel like you're on a journey. Not to mention each of the routes and towns feel like they belong together in the same place. For example, you have the pathway to Snow Point City, because going from Mount Coronet to Snow Point City actually feels like a tough journey through the snow, with the main player character having to deal with low visibility, slow movement because of the snow, powerful wild Pokemon they have to encounter, and powerful trainers they also have to encounter along the way. It actually feels like you're going on a journey because you don't just have to go to Snow Point City in order to get another gym badge. You also have to stop Team Galactic from acquiring another legendary Pokemon. Whereas in Sword and Shield, all the routes connecting the towns are essentially one straight linear line with a few corridors, and no alternate routes that require an HM move. It's just one straight line, with a few trainers that can easily be dealt with. Now another thing that Game Freak needs to bring back are the dungeon areas. Places that require a lot of thought in order to traverse. For example, you had a place like Mount Moon in Kanto, where you had to figure out the correct path in order to get to the next town, while constantly encountering different wild Pokemon and trainers. Another good example of this is Mount Coronet, because you didn't just have to visit the area once, but 4 times throughout the game, in order to get to the next town. You even had to use it in order to chase Team Galactic all the way to Spear Pillar, while encountering wild Pokemon and Team Galactic grunts. You even had to use various different HMs in order to find the correct path. Areas like this help prepare the player for future challenges to come. Not to mention it's pretty good for the main story, considering Mount Coronet's connection to Arceus and his creations. Now another thing that Game Freak needs to do is to bring back the Underground, a place where players could dig for different items, including evolutionary stones and fossils, as well as spheres, which are essentially the currency of the Underground. And you can get these items by basically mining for them utilizing a minigame that's similar to Minesweeper. Plus, similar to Generation 3 and the remakes Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, you can also construct secret bases within the Underground. Not to mention, thanks to the online, you can interact with different players. And with the Switch's online capabilities, you could probably interact with even more players. In fact, Game Freak could even turn the Underground into Sinnoh's equivalent of the Wild area. Assuming that the possible Diamond and Pearl remakes doesn't have the same type of online that Sword and Shield had. Now another thing that Game Freak could do is to create DLC episodes surrounding certain event Pokemon. For example, the first DLC episode can be about Shaman, and it could expand upon its role within the Pokemon world. Not to mention go into greater detail as to how it's connected to Flororomo Town, because for those of you who don't know, it's implied that Shaman is the reason why Flororomo Town, which was once a barren wasteland where nothing could grow, instantly started growing flowers. Not to mention they could also tie in the Fuego Ironworks into Shaman's story, mainly because that area is one of the most forgettable areas within the Pokemon series. Like seriously, it's just there's no reason to even go there. Like it doesn't even tie into the plot of the main story of the original games. Now the second episode can be based around Darkrai and Cresselia, and it could also expand on the storyline from the original, where the Sailor's son is sick from nightmares and he can't wake up, while trying to say Darkrai's name. For this they could change it to where not just the Sailor's son is afflicted with Darkrai's nightmares, but almost everyone in Canalave City except for obviously you the player, the Sailor Eldridge, and even the gym leader Byron, and the entire town is filled up with nightmarish ghost Pokemon. So you basically gotta go to Full Moon Island in order to get help from Cresselia, in order to cure the entire town as well as the surrounding areas of nightmares. And then after it's all over you get the opportunity to catch Darkrai on New Moon Island, along with Cresselia. Now the third event can obviously be based around the Arceus event that was never released here in the US, involving an item called the Reserve Flute as well as remnants of Team Galactic trying to acquire it in order to capture Arceus, so that they can control the Creation Trio, the Lake Trio, basically controlling the entire universe. And it's up to the player character, the champion, as well as your rival in order to stop them. And at the end you get the chance of capturing Arceus within the Hall of Origin. Now, the one final thing that Game Freak needs to do in order for these possible remakes to be successful is to take a lot of stuff from Pokémon Platinum, because one of the main problems with the original Diamond and Pearl was that they were lacking in certain areas, more particularly the availability of certain Pokémon, i.e. fire types, because one of the main problems of the original Diamond and Pearl was that if you did not pick Chimchar, you were pretty much stuck with Rapidash, because they were the only fire types available and you couldn't get the other fire types until you beaten the game. So pretty much you couldn't pick Magmortar until you've beaten the game, unless you had a friend who was willing to trade you one. And it wasn't just fire types that were unavailable, most of the newer evolutions weren't available until you'd beaten the game, meaning you couldn't get Magnezone, Porygon Z, and Rhyperior. Thankfully Platinum fixed this to where now you can obtain those Pokemon. Now, aside from just making more Pokemon available at the start of the game, Pokemon Platinum gave 4 new forms to a certain electrical Pokemon, that Pokemon being Rotom. And each of its forms were based on different types of household appliances, those being a microwave oven, a washing machine, a refrigerator, an electric fan, and a lawnmower. And you can gain access to these forms through the use of a secret key that allows you to go into a room that's in the Team Galactic building in Eterna City. Not to mention, since Rotom can be found in the old Chateau building, this will be a good opportunity to give us a decent backstory as to what happened to the old Chateau building, and why there's a ghost of a little girl and a butler in there. Not to mention, it could also possibly tie into a connection between Rotom and the Team Galactic commander known as Charon. Speaking of which, one of the other things that they need to bring from Pokemon Platinum in these possible Diamond and Pearl remakes are the 2 characters that were introduced in Platinum. Those 2 characters being Charon, the Team Galactic commander, and Looker, a member of the International Police Force. And when he shows up, it's usually surrounding events involving Team Galactic. He even disguises himself as one of their members. Now, despite the fact that Charon and Looker have pretty much very important roles within the story of Pokemon Platinum, you never had a chance to battle them. So this would be a pretty good opportunity for Game Freak to finally allow you to battle Looker. Plus, they could also address his absence from Sword and Shield, as well as what happened to him in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and why he lost his memory. Now, the very important item that Looker gives you when you first meet him is called the VS Recorder. It's a key item that allows you to record and replay certain battles, particularly Wi-Fi battles. And since the item's introduction, it was pretty much used by the different generations that came out after Generation 4, all the way up to Generation 7. However, it wasn't used in Sword and Shield, which is why Game Freak needs to bring back this feature for Diamond and Pearl remakes, because it was pretty convenient for players who didn't have enough money to afford a capture card to post their Wi-Fi battles on YouTube. Speaking of which, they also need to bring back the Wi-Fi Plaza, which is a place where players could go online and play different minigames with each other. Now, the last thing that Game Freak needs to bring back for the Diamond and Pearl remakes from Platinum is the Battle Frontier. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Battle Frontier is essentially a place where there are several different facilities where you can partake in different types of battles depending on that facility. For example, in the Battle Factory, you cannot use your main Pokemon, you gotta use rental Pokemon. And each trainer you beat, you get to use the Pokemon that they had on their team. And after winning a certain amount of times, you get to challenge the Frontier Brain. This post-game feature was first introduced in Pokemon Emerald, and it was then brought back in Pokemon Platinum. Now, a lot of fans like myself wanted the Battle Frontier brought back in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I mean, it made sense, it was introduced in Emerald, so why not bring it back there? But instead, we wound up with the Battle Resort and a Battle Mason replica, with a small Easter egg that says the Battle Frontier project has started. This angered a lot of fans, including myself, which is why I really hope that the Battle Frontier is brought back in the possible Diamond and Pearl remakes. Now, the argument for people defending Game Freak's decision on excluding the Battle Frontier is Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are only remakes of Ruby and Sapphire, not Emerald. And for that, I'll just play this clip from Distant Kingdom's video.
Pokemon remakes can in fact include features from the 3rd version of the generation being remade, and /or can introduce entirely new content that wasn't even in the original games behind the inspiration of the remakes to begin with. The Sevi Islands were never in Red or Green, yet they found their way into Fire Red and Leaf Green. The Battle Frontier was never in Gen 2, and yet it's found in Heart Gold Soul Silver. The Delta episode featured in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire was never in Ruby, Sapphire, or Emerald. Even story beats from 3rd version games can find their way into remakes. Eugene, from Pokemon Crystal, is an excellent example. His little side quest revolving around Suicune, which was never a part of Gold or Silver, found its way into the Gold and Silver remakes.
So that pretty much sums it up. Now, the other thing I would like for Game Freak to do for these Diamond and Pearl remakes is to expand upon the lore of Sinnoh, similar with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, because in those games they actually expanded upon Johto's lore with the addition of 2 new areas. The first one being the Embedded Tower, which is a place where you can capture Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza. According to the area's history, it was actually built by people who arrived there from the Hoenn region, and it was built to connect both the land, sea, and the sky, representing Groudon and Kyogre. They pretty much managed to tie another region into Johto's history. Now, they didn't just tie in Hoenn into Johto's history, but they also tied in Sinnoh with the Sinnoh ruins, which is a temple that was built by two different groups of people, one from Johto and one from Sinnoh, and it ties into Sinnoh's lore due to it being connected to Arceus and the Creation Trio. Now, aside from just story elements and online elements, the one thing I do not want them to bring from Sword and Shield into these Diamond and Pearl remakes is the broken EXP share that you can't turn off. If you're going to give us an EXP share like this, then at least give us the option to turn it off, because it makes battles really easy, and to be honest, it makes the game less fun and more boring, which is one of the main reasons why Pokemon Sword and Shield lacks replayability. Now, similar to how ORAS tied in Mega Evolution into their storyline, it's obvious that they're going to tie in Dynamaxing within the storyline of these remakes, despite my dislike towards Dynamaxing due to how broken it is competitively. So hopefully they'll find a way to make sense as to why Dynamaxing is in Sinnoh, despite the fact that it was stated in Sword and Shield that Dynamaxing is exclusively in Galar. The only real possible way I could see Dynamaxing being connected to the Sinnoh region is Eternatus being connected to Arceus. Now, the last thing I want from these remakes is for Game Freak to take their time with these, because one of the main problems with Sword and Shield was that they felt rushed, and to be honest, they were. And the recently released Pokemon Snap trailer pretty much proves it due to the fact that new Pokemon Snap looks better than Sword and Shield, and the overall individual Pokemon animations look better. In fact, the world in Pokemon Snap looks alive compared to Sword and Shield. And it's pretty embarrassing considering the fact that new Pokemon Snap is a spin-off title, while Sword and Shield is a mainline Pokemon game. And keep this in mind, Game Freak actually have the resources to make a Pokemon game look that good, due to the fact that the Pokemon franchise itself is actually one of the highest grossing franchises on the planet, so there's really no excuse for any mainline Pokemon game to not look that good. So hopefully Game Freak takes their time with this and tries not to rush out another mediocre title. And it would also help that Junichi Masuda doesn't direct these games. Don't forget to like this video, share this video, and if you want to subscribe to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys all on the next video. Take care.